You're being lied to, not by her, by everything you were taught about her. I know what you're thinking. Here we go, another video telling me women are the problem. That's not what this is. This is something different. This is the video I wish someone had shown me before I wasted years doing everything right in completely the wrong way. And before you click away, let me ask you one question. Have you ever felt like the harder you try, the worse it gets? Like you're doing everything you're supposed to do, and it's still not working? That feeling isn't weakness. That feeling is data. And in the next 10 minutes, I'm going to tell you exactly what it means. Stay with me. Let me take you back to something real. I spoke to a man recently, 35 years old. Good job, good heart. Showed up every single day. He cooked, he planned dates, he communicated, he did everything the books told him to do. And she left anyway. Not for someone richer, not for someone better looking, for someone who seemed completely unbothered. And he asked me, what did I do wrong? The answer broke him a little. Nothing. That was the problem. Because here's what nobody is telling you. The dating market has been completely restructured, not slowly, not gradually, fast. Think about it this way. 10 years ago, if a woman wanted to meet someone, she had to leave the house. She had to show up, invest, take a risk. Today, she has 400 options in her pocket, available at 2 a.m. while watching Netflix, in her pajamas. That's not judgment, that's reality. And when options are infinite, commitment becomes the hardest thing to choose. So ask yourself this. In a world of infinite options, what makes a man stand out? Not effort, not availability, not trying harder, something else entirely. And that's what we're getting into. Here's the thing no one says directly. Your attention has become currency. Your time, your energy, your focus, your consistency. These things used to be rare. They used to mean something. Now, they're the baseline, the minimum. And the moment you give them freely, they lose every ounce of value. Pattern interrupt. Let me stop for a second. I want you to think about the last time you were genuinely excited about something, a project, a goal, a trip you were planning. Were you thinking about her in those moments? Or were you fully in it? That version of you, focused, driven, alive, that's the most attractive version of you that exists. Not the version checking his phone every 20 minutes. Not the version adjusting his plans to fit her schedule. Not the version making her the center of his universe. The version with a mission. Here's the truth. When a man has no direction, no life that exists beyond the relationship, he becomes the relationship. And that's suffocating. Not because she's cruel, but because no one wants to be someone's entire reason for existing. A man with purpose is magnetic, not because he's playing games, because he's real. So let me ask you something directly. What are you building right now? Outside of any relationship, what gets you out of bed in the morning? If you don't have an answer to that question, that's where to start. Not with her, with you. Pay attention. 3 things are happening right now that most men are completely blind to. Pattern interrupt. And I mean right now, this week, in real relationships, maybe in yours. First, the entitlement gap is widening, fast. I'll give you a specific example. A client of mine, I'll call him David, was in a 2-year relationship. He worked, he provided, he planned every weekend. His partner hadn't cooked a meal in 6 months, hadn't asked once how his day was, but had a very detailed list of what he wasn't giving her emotionally. When David finally said something, she called him selfish. He came to me asking if he was the problem. He wasn't. He was just the only one keeping score in a game she'd stopped playing. Here's the pattern. Expectations go up, contribution goes down, and the man who keeps giving doesn't earn respect. He loses it. Because resentment is patient. It doesn't explode on day one. It builds quietly, one small compromise at a time, one swallowed frustration. One morning you wake up and realize you haven't recognized yourself in years. Don't let it get there. Ask yourself right now, is what you're giving being matched, even half? If the answer is no, you already know what to do. Second, your standards are being used against you. This one's subtle. Pay attention. Having standards used to be called character. Now it's called controlling. Expecting effort is called toxic. Wanting accountability is called manipulation. Setting a boundary is called abuse. This didn't happen by accident, because a man with no standards is a man with no power, and a man with no power is easy to manage. Here's what I need you to remember. Write this down if you have to. Healthy people are not offended by standards. Only entitled people are. If she reacts to your standards with anger, she just told you everything you needed to know. You didn't ask for too much. You asked the wrong person. Third, the best men are quietly disappearing from the market, not with anger, not with manifestos, quietly. They decided their energy was worth more than a relationship that required them to shrink. They're building, training, traveling, creating, and they're becoming increasingly unavailable to anyone who doesn't match their level. This is the shift no one is talking about. These men aren't bitter. They're not against anyone. They're just done performing for an audience that doesn't appreciate the show. Are you one of them, or are you still waiting to be chosen? So what does a man actually do with all of this? 3 moves, concrete, starting today. First, reclaim your attention like it's your most valuable asset. Because it is. Stop being the man who's always available, always ready, always there. Not cold, not distant, intentional. I want you to think about the last week. How many times did you drop what you were doing just to be available? How many times did your presence cost you your momentum? A man with a full life is infinitely more attractive than a man waiting to be chosen. Fill your life so completely that a relationship becomes an addition, not a rescue mission. Second, raise the filter, not just the standard. Most men know what they don't want. Almost none know what they're actually building toward. So get clear on your life first, your direction, your goals, your non-negotiables. Then, ask this one question about every person you meet. Does she fit into the life I'm building, or does she require me to shrink it? Simple question, brutal answer, saves you years, because the wrong person doesn't just cost you time. She costs you momentum. She costs you energy. She costs you the version of yourself you were in the process of becoming. Third, stop auditioning. Start deciding. You've been trained to impress, to prove yourself, to earn her interest. Reverse it completely. You're not the one auditioning. You're the one holding auditions. A man who walks into every room knowing his value doesn't chase. He attracts. He doesn't convince. He decides. And that shift from chasing to deciding is the single most powerful thing you can do starting from today. Let me leave you with this. What's happening right now is not a reason to be angry. Angry men make emotional decisions. Aware men make powerful ones. The market has changed. The dynamics have shifted. The rules are different. And the men who understand this will thrive. The men who don't will keep giving more, keep wondering what went wrong, keep blaming themselves for something that was never their fault. You are not the problem, but you are the solution. Because the world doesn't need more men desperate to be chosen. It needs more men busy becoming something worth choosing. That's the shift. That's the attention you need to pay. Not to her, to yourself. Build the life, hold the standard, know your value, and everything else will follow. Final question to audience. Before you go, drop one word in the comments, one word that describes the man you're becoming, not who you were, who you're becoming. I read every single one. Share this with a man who needs to hear it today.